And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Watch Hangout with our special guest tonight, Jody from Just One More Watch and Erebus Watches. Hey, Jody, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thank you very much for having me. Much appreciated, Robert.
Yeah, and obviously we, as I said in the email too, you can stay as long or as short as you want to. We usually run for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, but you can go as long as or short as you need to or want to, because I know
you do some marathon streams. You do some big, long chats.
That's right. Well, length is in the eye of the beholder, but that's a whole different thing. We want to thank our normal panel for being here as well. Jen G. Hello, Jen. There she is. In the freezing tundra of Ohio. And we've got Mitch. How are you doing, Mitch?
I'm fine in the freezing tundra of St. Louis.
Yeah, there you go. And we've got Blake in the freezing tundra of Las Vegas. Not really.
This is all I need to get me through winter, a very light windbreaker.
There you go. And we'll do a wrist check this evening. Let's start with Jody since he's our special guest, and I bet I know what's on his wrist.
Well, yeah, I think you'd win your bet. I'm wearing the T-shirt. I've got the watch on as well. I'm wearing an Erebus. I'm wearing the Origin GMT. This is one of our kind of premium, we call them premium versions, with a black and red bezel. But I've got it on a rubber strap, FKM rubber strap. Really nice. I enjoy it.
Very nice. Very nice. We go to Jen. What are you wearing this evening?
I'm double wristing.
Look at that.
A new piece. It is a Timex Marlin chrono given to me by our friend Robert. Sent it to me.
I'm glad it finally got there. And then you got your heart monitor stuff on too.
So yeah, that's what I got.
Yay, very cool. Very awesome. That little watch looks great on you. Looks better on you than it ever did on me. We've got Blake in the house. What's on the wrist tonight, Blake? An Apple Watch. Oh, no.
And of IWC. Yeah.
One that counts and one that doesn't.
Yeah, fitness and fashion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Mr. Mitch, what's on the wrist this evening?
I got an Islander micro brand mechanical chrono.
And that's interesting that you pick Islander because next week's guest is Mark from Long Island Watch, Jody's buddy Mark.
What a guy. I just got an email from him about 10 minutes ago. He is the nicest man in YouTube, nicest man in the watch world. He really is. He's a great guy.
Yeah, so we'll talk about Mark a little bit later on. And I guess on my wrist this evening, and I can't reach over to fix the can I? Let's get over here and do that. And we've got the Seiko 5 GMT with Sydney time on it for our guest from Sydney, Australia this evening. Now I've got to go all the way back down here and press that, and now we're back there. I hate running shows, don't you? So let me ask you first of all, Jody, about your YouTube career. Obviously, were you working at the Sydney Opera House first, and then you decided to do the YouTube thing, or how did it work?
Yeah, I've been working at or near the Sydney Opera House for nearly 20 years. I used to work in hospitality, and I started there for one of the big in-house catering firms in 2006. I left after about 3 years, but then went back as an usher in 2013. I've been a tour guide. I've been a theatre manager. I'm now just a very part-time usher again, but I was actually in full-time study. I started full-time study in 2012, and in 2016, I decided to put up my first couple of YouTube videos. One of my colleagues at the Opera House actually is into watches. The two of us used to chat a lot, and he told me, he said, look, you got to get on YouTube and you got to watch this guy, the Urban Gentry, because he has a whole channel about watches. So I started watching TGV. And as you do, I started buying watches that he was recommending. My collection grew. And I thought, yeah, I could have a go at this myself. I've got enough watches to start a channel. And that was it. I said to my wife, I said, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. And she said, it'll never work. You're far too old for YouTube, which I thought was cruel, especially as I was not this old at that time. But, thankfully she was wrong. And I started taking it a bit more seriously in 2017. and I've been making 3 videos a week pretty much every single week. Since then, I'm up to, 1,000, 1,300 videos, something like that, over the course of nearly 8 years now. When I think about it, it's such a long time to be making 3 videos a week, deeply entrenched in this wonderful world of watches.
And we have our first super chat of the evening from Birminghard. I was hoping for the quintessential. I'll let you do it.
Hello. Sorry.
There you go.
I should have done it earlier on.
And we have our friend Watching James in the house. Wrist check for me, Erebus Ascent Black Helix.
Thanks, James.
And I've seen that watch. And actually, James and I are going to be on a stream Thursday night on another channel. So we'll talk about that a little bit later too. So I actually get to meet James this week too. This is Australia week.
Now he's over in Perth, so I think he's got a 5-hour time difference or 3-hour time difference or something from me even. So
yeah,
you're gonna have to reset your don't think your GMT hand's gonna be accurate for James as well.
No, I actually I have family friends in Melbourne. So a lot of times I have a GMT set for Melbourne time, which is the same as Sydney time. So
that's good. That's nice.
So,
That's why you make a world timer, Jody.
That's it. Yeah.
There you
at
go.
Some point. At some
Wink,
point.
wink.
Yeah, 2027. I think that the schedule's full for this year. So
And so the YouTube channel grew and grew and grew and grew. How did you grow it to where it is today, which is, I think you're right at or a little over 500,000, aren't you?
No, I wish. I'm 320, probably 322,247. Not that I'm obsessed with the subscriber count or anything like that.
After tonight, you might pick up 2 more.
But a couple of subs. Look, to be honest, I think a lot of it was I just got in at the right time, because when I started in 2016, 2017, there honestly weren't nearly as many guys and no girls. I don't think there were any ladies on YouTube at all doing watches. And I started my channel. I thought, right, I'm Scottish sensibilities. It's all about value for money and finding the bargains. So I'm really going to focus on the affordables, in inverted commas. Anyway, $500 or less. That's what I kind of set my targets, set my eyes on. And I've just kind of consistently stuck to that. I've reviewed plenty of other watches as well, but I've stuck to that from the beginning. And, it doesn't get any easier. It gets harder trying to find the next bargain $300 watch when you found the last bargain one last week. But I've managed to find nearly a decade of content on it. But consistency, sticking with an idea and my own little niche. And I do credit quite a bit of luck just for starting. I'm not sure I would have done as well if I started a couple of years later. I think I've grown with Watch YouTube in some respects.
Where is your Harris tweed, Jody?
I've got a couple of Harris tweed watch straps actually, but I don't wear them very often. I'll be wearing one for Burns night later on this week.
And so the way your channel initially started, and I think your collection in general kind of reflects what I do as well. You have a few high-end pieces. For me, it's a couple of Longines, a couple of Tag Heuers, Carl Bucherer in my collection, but everything else is around that 800 below, 500 and below. And that's kind of where I play in the world. And I've always been happy doing it that way. How about you? I mean, it seems like you're very content now at where your collection is as far as what's in it.
Yeah, I've seen myself, being willing to spend a bit more money on watches in the time that I've been running the channel, but I found my upper limits. I don't think I've spent more than $2,000 US on anything ever. And I don't know if I ever will spend that much money, any more than that. You look at the prices of Rolex and whatever these days, and even Omegas these days, and they're just so expensive. I'm not quite sure if I could ever justify spending that much money. But the whole point is, I don't think you need to. You can have just as much fun, just as much enjoyment in this hobby with a much, much tighter budget than some of the guys who are splashing big bucks on watches every month. So yeah, I'm comfortable on that kind of middle ground or the value for money stuff, trying to find these nuggets, these bargains.
Yeah, and you're really good at introducing people to a lot of brands that they may not have heard of. I think part of that's because you're in Australia and you get a lot of, say, Japanese market stuff is closer to you than it is to me or to us over here in the States. And you obviously have some Australian micro brands. Yours one of them, but there's others that are very interesting over there. And so I think you bring a new perspective, at least to those of us in the U.S. who don't have the same type of watch market that you have in Australia.
Yeah, I think, small population over here. We don't have Orient officially, for example. If you want to buy an Orient watch, you can't buy one from an authorized dealer in Australia because they just don't think the market's sufficient. So you got to buy them from overseas. Maybe that forces you to look at some of the dealers in Singapore, Nomon Watches, Creation Watches, and so on. And as you say, we're not that far from Japan geographically. And depending on the value of the yen, there's some bargains to be had on some of these Japanese eBay and Rakuten and so on. Here we are.
We're showing some people your
some
channel and some of the
cheesy
things
mugshot.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm curious, especially getting hands on with so many micro brands, and I'm looking for a non-biased answer. But what would you say your favorite micro brand that you've gotten hands on with has to be?
It's like, what's your budget? There's so many micro brands these days. I guess you can narrow that down and down and down and still have 10 different choices depending on whether you want a dive watch, bronze, titanium, chronograph, or whatever. But yeah, there's a lot. I did a top 25 micro brands of the world video earlier on last year. It could have been a top 50. There's so many quality small companies now. So I'm going to duck the question, Blake. I'm sorry, but
I'll go watch the video. I need something to do later. So.
Yeah, plenty of options.
Yeah, I know that one of the micro brands that you discovered when you were in New York this year was Brew, that you really like.
Yeah, I met Jonathan. I think part of the appeal of micro brands is that you have such a more of a connection with a small company than you do with a big company. So if you send them an email, chances are you're getting a reply from the brand owner or pretty close to the brand owner who has designed the watches as well. And I'd looked at a couple of brews, or looked at one brew on the channel in the past, but I'd always fancied that metric. And I met Jonathan. I said, hey, can you get me one in time for the last day of the show? And I think they assemble them there. So they're kind of made in America in that sense. And he made me one specially and sold it to me. I did buy it. I didn't get it for nothing, but I bought it off of him at the last day of the show. And that's great. I've still got it. That's a keeper because, you shook hands with a guy who designed the watch and it's his company. It's really nice.
It is cool when because Nathan Trafford, who does Trafford Watches here in Austin, is a friend of mine. Alan Zhao is a friend of mine who does South Baltimore. And I love being able to talk to the brand owner and really get to know them. And it makes those watches, I don't want to say more special, but certainly different than everything else in your collection.
I think special is a good word too.
Yeah, I think so too, but it's certainly different. I mean, I'm not going around with a Longines knowing the owner or the president of Swatch Group. So,
Yeah. And he certainly didn't give you a handwritten note into the packet with your Longines.
Or in the case of Alan, struggled trying to get the pins out, trying to size my bracelet. When I bought the watch from the owner of the brand is beating on a bracelet trying to get the pins and collars out. I said, don't use pins and collars.
I remember getting a Helm Vanuatu years ago, still an absolute legend of a watch if you want that big chunky micro diver. And Helm were and still are really a one-man band. The owner, Matt, regulates the watches himself. He writes an accuracy report in his own handwriting. And he's, dear, whatever your name is, thanks very much for buying a watch. Just amazing. And it is special. You do feel more of a connection. Whether that means you're less inclined to flip them is another question. But definitely, it's a nice thing to be able to buy. There's a lot to be said for buying from the big Swiss brands, Japanese brands, whatever. But also, I think people get into and they're passionate about the micro scene because of the small companies. You feel like you're part of something in a way that you could never feel that you're part of Seiko.
Interesting question from our man Trap Vision, that's whose stream I'm going to be on Thursday with Watching James, is will we see Erebus back in New York for Wind Up 2025?
That's what my email to and from Mark from Long Island was about this morning, because he said, hey, the dates have been announced. Are you going to go back? Well, my wife and I are expecting child number 2 in June.
Congratulations.
Middle of June. Thank you. So there will be certain political ramifications to me heading overseas for watch shows this year. I think we're going to try and do San Francisco at the beginning of May, and we might try and come back to New York. It was fantastic. It was so much fun. My first time in America, first time in New York, therefore.
Wow.
And it was 3 really intense days. You know, meeting people that I chatted to online that have subscribed to the channel for years that have now since bought Erebus watches. It was so good. So we'd love to go back. Stephen had a fantastic time as well. So yes, probably is your answer, Trap Vision 3D. Probably we'll see you back in New York in October.
Yeah, if his wife will let him out of the house and let him out of those overnight feedings and other things for a week.
Yeah.
Jen, any questions?
How surprised were you by San Martin as like the quality of what they've built?
I think it just shows you that, well, what does it show you? It shows you that China, made in China, is not a dirty word, or at least it shouldn't be a dirty word. I think it's not drawn too much of a thread to suggest that a lot of the world's watches are made in China.
Yeah.
And I guess I watched that brand really go from making sterile Seiko homages 2017 or something to doing amazing watches. Now, you know, I've got a couple in my collection at the moment, and I don't think there's anything that can beat them in terms of the finishing and the quality for the price that they're charging, because they're not paying. It's the micro brand model. They're selling these directly, and they're selling them out of China. So their overheads are going to be lower than most other people's.
Mitch, any questions?
Yeah, I'm just curious. Micro brands, in my opinion, really excel in terms of providing the customer with interesting design alternatives. But they're clearly not doing much of anything in terms of movement design or engineering at this point. Do you think that as the industry develops, you're going to start seeing some micro brands dip their toes into more of the engineering side of watch development?
I think it'll all depend on budget. I'm not sure. I mean, well, by the time somebody gets to the stage that they're manufacturing their own caliber, they're probably no longer a micro brand. I guess you look at Christopher Ward maybe as an example of that. They've now got 22 years, I think, since they released, or is it 12 years since they released their first watch? Anyway, they're now so far down the line that they're coming up with the Belcanto, they're coming up with the 12X, the skeletonized one. They're making their own calibers. They're not really a micro brand anymore. So yeah, I'm sure that there are companies with the potential to get to that stage where they're coming up with their own complications or whatever, but they'll probably not be categorized as micros by the time they get there. I mean, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting because in the semiconductor industry, over the last 20 years or so, a lot of companies have basically outsourced manufacturing to foundries. So you can envision movement foundries for the watch industry. So you can design a movement and have it produced outside of your company.
think
I'm just spitballing.
Yeah, no, but part of the reason that micro brands exist is because you can buy these off-the-shelf parts, because Seiko sells the 4R movements, because Miyota sells the 9000 series movements. So it stops that impediment. You don't have to develop everything in-house. You can buy parts off the shelf and then design around that. But, you know, Erebus, speaking personally, we started about 18 months ago working on a project where we've taken a Miyota 9000 series caliber and we've commissioned our own module on top of that. So already as a company, we're trying to do something a little bit different and not just do kind of off the shelf three-handers. We want to try and do innovation in that regard as well. I think you're right. I think that's where some of the fun, there's brands like Zerek who've always done crazy things, you know, with standard movements, but the way that they have orchestrated them, you know, they don't look like standard movements. But yeah, I think there's definitely an opportunity for smaller companies who want to spend a bit of time and a bit of money, because it's cost us a bit of money to develop our own custom modules. We've got a field watch that we are, fingers crossed, going to launch later on this year that really will be very, very different from anything that's been seen for a while. But it's probably going to take 2 years end to end to get that to production.
We want to thank Kurt for the 5 gifted memberships. Kurt, my brother from here in Austin, Texas. Thank you so much, Kurt. And also a $5 super chat from Kurt. You nailed it, Jody. Nomos is similar with a micro-ish brand, but now make their own movements, raise prices, and are just an independent now. I think the same thing could be said for, as you said, Christopher Ward, who I would consider an independent and no longer a micro, not only because of the prices and that kind of thing of their watches, but they're also making a ton of watches that, I mean, a lot more than you would consider a typical micro brand as far as sheer numbers of watches you're making.
I'm curious, Jody, if you don't mind. Obviously, like whenever you bring a product or even a service to market, usually it comes from a sense of need, right? Maybe you were looking for a watch out there that maybe didn't exist, or this color combination, or this complication, or whatever. So what was it for you that you didn't see in the market that powered you to make your own watch? And then part 2 of my question is like what type of values do you instill in you know, you have to have these principles, right? Where, hey, I'm looking to you know, you talked about keeping watches under $500, $600. Like, so what type of values are you always trying to throw into your next watch, right? You're just one more watch.
Yeah, I think need, to your first point, is a bit of a moot point. I mean, the world did not need another micro brand watch company.
Well, you felt like something was missing, right? I mean,
I'd always said that one day I would love to start my own, because as much fun as it is reviewing other people's, it's very different when you see the other side of the business. And it's something I'm really proud of, that, you know, Stephen and I have started this company from scratch, and so far so good anyway. And it means you got a blank slate. As I said earlier on, you know, we can develop our own module. You know, I can see something, say, that's fantastic. Why is nobody making that? I want to make it. And with a bit of time, a bit of money, and, you know, a bit of luck, hopefully, we can make it. So I don't think there was any need for, you know, the 999th micro brand to launch in 2023. But you know, we're both having a lot of fun doing it. And I think your second point, the value, is value. I think we want to. I've seen micros push up and up and up over the last few years. It used to be that $299 was where most micro brand watches launched, and I think these days there's maybe a Islander are sitting in that middle ground between the really, you know, ultra affordable AliExpress stuff and then the 500 plus stuff. So every video I make, every review that I do, I inevitably find something to complain about. You know, I find a bunch of things to complain about. And I guess part of what we're trying to do with Erebus is to minimize the number of things that I complain about. So all the little quality of life fixes, they've all had adjustable clasps, quick release spring bars. every watch we've released has had a date at 6, you know, so you retain the symmetry, and it's a color match date wheel, and just some of those little bits and pieces that you look at a watch and you're like, oh, why didn't they just make these little changes? I'm sure other people will look at mine and find things they want to change, but hopefully not many. So that's the philosophy.
John in the chat says, what do you think about Kurano Tokyo, Atelier Win, Ming watches in terms of finish and quality? Are they still considered micro brands?
Yeah, I've looked at a couple of Mings over the years, one Atelier Wen, but no Kurano Tokyos. Atelier Wen, actually, I've not told anybody this, quite embarrassing. They sent me one of their Perceptions in purple to review last year, and it got lost on the way back to them. So they never got their first time that's ever happened. The courier company claimed they never picked it up, but you know, anyway, the quality on this is really, really good. Problem is, I guess, when these brands get a bit of a reputation, you look at the Atelier Wen Perception, for example, it started as a $2,000 watch, and you can't buy one for $3,300 at the moment. So they've put 60, 70% on top of their prices because they can. So it's the same watch, but they've now priced them up. So I think if you can catch these brands at their inception or close to the beginning, you get the best deals on them. But once they realize that they're probably underselling their products, they inevitably push the prices up. Mings, you know, it's hard to buy a Ming these days because they're so in demand, and you know, you can still flip them for a profit, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you about, you know, moving to YouTube, from YouTube to Erebus, and you brought this up because you talked about this on your channel when you were designing them. You said, I looked at all of the moans and niggles in every other watch that I'd seen, and I wanted to make sure they weren't in this one.
Yeah.
And you even mentioned that when you were launching the brand in E3 on your channel. Tell me about the whole process that you went through, you know, picking the factories, touring the factories, making sure the standards were up to spec, everything else.
Yeah, well, to give you a sort of timeline, we've sort of formed the company in August 2023. I mean, I'd known Stephen Parker, my business partner at Erebus.
Right.
I'd known him for maybe 3 or 4 years before we decided to go into business together. He comes from a sort of more business background. You know, I'm just a guy in a garden shed making YouTube videos, but he's more business oriented. So he made sure that we had an agreement, you know, a directors shareholders agreement, all the legal stuff was done if it ever goes horribly wrong, not that it will. And then we started working on design, engaged a designer. So we come up with a brief and then let somebody who can operate a CAD program do the design for us. I guess I knew where I wanted to get it made. There's 2 or 3 factories that I knew made quality products. So we sent the design brief to 3 different factories, paid for 3 different sets of prototypes, got them all back one at a time. They actually all arrived back within the space of about 2 weeks. And then we separated, we drew up a big scorecard, we got the loop out, and we said, right, which of these 3 factories are we going to go? And, you know, the other 2 were okay, but there was one clear winner, and that's the factory we engaged. We then went back for a second round of prototypes because we didn't feel we quite got the design right. Got a website organized. By this stage, we're in September, and it was October 2023. So it was about 15 months from signing on the line to form the company to actually being able to go to market with your first watch. Most people would have done Kickstarter, but I guess that was the value of having the YouTube channel, my own platform, and
Right.
you know, hopefully a bit of a good name and reputation that we could take orders directly and people would trust us, you know, not to disappear with their money.
And, you know, usually I'm a dive watch guy, and your first watch was a dive watch. But after I saw the Ascent, it's like, okay, when I buy one of these, that's going to be the one I get, because the finishing is just so incredible on that watch. And we've had a couple of guys in the chat tonight, Kurt being one of them, saying, they're really on the purple dial. They're in love with your purple dials. But I think the Ascent is just next level. Not just for a micro brand, but for any brand. It's an incredible looking watch.
Yeah, thank you. I guess with the Origin, I thought it was like the Goodwill watch. If people had been following my channel, if they watched some of my videos, they thought, oh, you know, I'll back this guy. I'll buy one of his first watches. We weren't expecting the second one to go as well, and it went better than the first one. So I think part of that was the price. I mean, that's the RRP on screen at $479. We were selling those for $379 with a Miyota 9000. Again, it's a nicely done watch. All the right elements, the right water resistance, good looking dial, loads of lume, date 6, 2-piece applied logo. But the handset, we spent a lot of money. We were offered various different handsets, but we knew the handset really made the watch in this case, so we spent a bit of extra money on it, and it's still been going really well for us. We've actually, sorry.
No, I was going to say you've got your next shipment is what, April of these?
Yep, we did a sort of little launch on some new color versions in November, and we've got a shipment arriving in April. But we've got some size differences. So those are 39 mil. Which one of your guys last week was talking about the 39 mil Rolex Oyster case that they used to do the Explorer, the OP. I thought that was the perfect size case, and I don't know why Rolex discontinued it. So we brought that one back specifically as a 39. But we've now done a 41, a 36, and a 34. So you don't get a lot of 34s from micro brands. So we want to try and kind of spread the appeal of this one. So we've got that launching in about a month's time, actually. I think a month today, 22nd of February.
Yeah, they're just incredibly finished. And is this done in the same factory that did the Origin and the Origin GMT too? They're all done, all three done the same place?
We've only got one supplier at the moment. Now, I've heard from other brand owners that really you should have 2 or 3 different suppliers, so you know somebody's not taking advantage of you by turning the screw in terms of pricing. But I think the quality is really good so far, so we're not desperate to rock the boat if we don't have to.
And so when the Ascent first came out, a lot of people were calling it an Aussie Omega Aquaterra style watch. When you looked at the style of this watch, what did you look at? What were your influences?
Yeah, we looked at the Aquaterra, various Grand Seikos, Citizen Chronomaster. You know, we offer a choice of 2 bracelets. One is the J style, one is the O style, which oddly enough, if you want to buy a Rolex Datejust, you get the exact same choice of those 2 bracelets. So we had a look at the Rolex as well. I think the rule was that we weren't allowed to look at the Seiko Sarb. We weren't allowed to try and benchmark $400, $500 watches. We wanted to, you know, aim a little higher than that and try and bring the look and feel of something, you know, in the thousands, but for less than 500.
And I mean, I have a Sarb, and I've always been impressed with the Grand Seiko style finishing on them. Right?
Yeah,
you can get a Grand Seiko for $500, basically. I think this finishing is every bit as good or better.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're pretty pleased with it. I've got, oddly enough, I have one of these on my desk as well. I just happen to have it here. Fact,
well, isn't that
I've got a couple. I've got a couple. Yeah.
Here, we'll make you big screen. So put them up on the camera there and show everybody what you've got there.
Oh, that's actually one of the prototypes. That's a prototype orange fume with an O style bracelet. I can't use the word because we'll get in trouble.
Yeah, I know.
That's a production unit. Again, the orange, but on the J style bracelet. So this one's kind of mine. This one should be in a box back at Erebus HQ. We've got all of our prototypes as kind of show watches now. We take them to wind up, etc. with us. There we are.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Tariq with a $20 super chat. Hello. I can't do it as well as you do, Jody. And hello, thank you for joining our Tuesday gang, Jody. Love the Ascent with those Whirlpool dials, and the Origins GMT are looking mighty nice as well.
Thank you, Tariq. Thank you, Tariq. Yeah, we've got We've got a Facebook group now. We've got club. Oh, you want to introduce your?
We'll talk first about Bill D's super chat for $2. Thank you, Bill. Hello, everyone. Haven't been on in a while. Bill, welcome back. We're glad to have you. Absolutely, welcome back. So go ahead. You were about to say.
Yeah, I forgot what I was about to say. We've got a Facebook group now, Club Erebus, with about 6,000 members. And I posted some sneak peeks on there yesterday of 4 new models. So we've been busy. I mean, as I just said with the first one, it took us 15 months to get it from sort of initially engaging a designer to actually selling them, and then another 3 or 4 months to actually delivering them. So we've been working away last year on a few different models as well. We're going to do an Ascent GMT, a field watch. We've been playing around with the design with the Hangzhou 5000 micro rotor. We wanted to do something a little bit dressy, and we've got a big boy 44 mil. Somebody in the chat was asking, Lunchabetic Mark was asking if we're going to do a 44 mil watch. So yes, we're going to do a 44 mil deep diver coming mid-year as well, we hope.
Oh, cool. All right. I may have to wait for your Ascent GMT because I've been looking for a GMT in that style. And if I'm thinking the style is what I think I'm thinking, then that's going to be perfect.
Yeah, might not be quite what you're thinking, but close to what you're thinking.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, I think though that might be the one that I'll wait for. $9 or $9.99 super chat, or $10 if you round it up, from our Bud Duco, who's usually a panelist on here tonight. I think he's digging out from snow in Louisiana right now. Thanks for joining the best Tuesday watch show in the business, Duco. We appreciate it. I think we're the only Tuesday watch show on at this particular moment, so that's what makes us the best right now. Blake, we're back to you. Any other questions?
I'm just going through the collection, and I'm just kind of really enjoying the diversity. You have a pretty tight little collection. You know, I've noticed that I respect the micro brands that don't try and veer from their design language and try this and try that. And then I saw the buy one get 3 free. I was like, oh, you're doing the Invicta model, huh?
It's strapped. It's not watches. It's
not
strapped.
quite.
I know. I'm just kidding.
I will say I got an email from Strapco today, and they're doing the same thing. Buy 3 get 1 free.
Oh God.
So everybody does it.
We're doing the opposite.
I'm curious about so I mean, the people that know me here on the panel, I'm a shill for the big brands. So I'll take whoever throws money at me. But I won't say what they want me to say. But I'm sure, and I have micro brand watches. I typically will stay in the higher price segments. And at some point, do you see that you have to cut corners to keep your watches at that price? Because I know there's only so much finishing and decoration and attention to detail that you can put into a watch at that price point. Hopefully it doesn't come off as a knock or anything, but
not at all. I guess there's 2 ways you achieve a price point. You either cut corners or you cut your own margins. And I think at the moment it's not industry margins. We're not making. Christopher Ward are very clear about their 3x margins. So you buy
the cost doubled and then something else.
They triple the cost, and that's the retail price.
Yeah.
We're not making that margin on anything. So I guess we hope that the quality of our product is you get more for your money. It's not, you get a $400 watch for $300. You get a $500 watch for $400, etc., because we set our own margins. Stephen and I, there's a lot of kind of back and forth about pricing and so on. I'm always saying, no, keep the prices low, whereas he's more concerned about the business back end. But I think there's a balance that we've managed to find so far. We've managed to keep the prices down to what I consider to be reasonable, whilst also having good quality for the money. I think that we'll definitely look to see how much we can do for $1,000 at some point in the future. You know, we both talked about a sort of skin diver. I want to do like a skin diver and make it like, right, what's the best we can do? What's the best movement, the best finishing, the best packaging, the best working to a price as well. So that'll be fun for us in the future. But I think we'll always try and still have a range that's kind of grounded at 300 upwards.
Do you feel that like following a more modest pricing model kind of limits the distribution side of your watches? Because obviously, like, you know, I come from a traditional retail model. I used to work at a dealer that sold 30 brands all the way up to Longa and Vacheron and Patek and all this. But you know, in Christopher Ward, I think, you know, they say, okay, here's our cost, right? Then the other one third is their profit, and the other 1/3 covers their marketing or distribution side of things. So another question, have you had any, obviously you haven't had any problems distributing your own watches, but do you feel at some point that you might have to kind of veer away from that model to reach and get your product out there and onto the wrists of more customers?
Yeah, again, we're back to where we were a few minutes ago, talking about, you know, what is a micro brand?
Right.
When does a micro brand cease to be a micro brand? I guess one of the things is it's that direct to market model. It's you buy straight from the brand as opposed to going through a third party retailer. You know, you don't walk into a high street jeweler, shopping mall jeweler, and find micro brands, because that's not the model. I think there's maybe a separate market, the likes of Time and Tide, who are, I guess they're kind of like Australia's Hodinkee, I would describe them. They've got a studio in Melbourne that has got a lot of micros. So you can buy a Studio Underdog, a Baltic, a Norcane, a whole bunch of other. So these brands are not shattering their model. You can still buy direct from them, but it's kind of adding another sales outlet where you can go into the shop, look at them, feel them, touch them, and try them on before you buy. So obviously Time and Tide will be taking their margin. So again, that's a question for the future. I think maybe we'll see more and more bricks and mortar stores popping up with collectives, if you like, of 8-10 different micro brands who all decide to get together, and they can afford one retail outlet between them, rather than all trying to set themselves up or accepting that they lose 50% of the retail price by giving it to whatever jeweler that they engage with.
And we have a $5 super chat from Kurt. Yes, Kurt, I did miss your super chat, but we're getting to it now. Sorry, man. Jody, how has price inflation changed your content? Are there brands which were prominent in your price base when you started that are not anymore?
Yeah, Kurt, good question. Really interesting, because I did a lot of top 10 best under $200, under $500 and whatever in the first couple of years of the channel. And then I didn't do them for a few years. And last year I went back and I did a lot of the same price points again. And some watches were gone. Some watches were long gone. They were no longer anywhere near their price brackets. But some watches you could still buy for the same or even less, despite inflation, price creep, all of those factors. So to answer Kurt's question, yeah, I definitely stray over $500 more than I used to, because I feel like I have to. I think the market has moved up there a little bit anyway. But also, as I said, these micro brands that maybe launched at $300, they're now launching watches at $500 and $600. So I've followed them up a little bit as well. But also, you know, the Seikos, the SKX used to be $200, whereas the current generation of Seikos are $300 starting point. So yeah, you move with them.
We have a whole bunch of Erebus there on the screen. Those are a little bit of everything. I see Ascents.
Yeah.
I see all of them.
Yeah, Ascents at the top. That's the new colors of Ascents: the red helix, the pink, Tiger Eye, which is a mineral we tried. Not sure if we'll be doing much more with Tiger Eye in the future. And then black and gilt. We hadn't done black and gilt. It's kind of timeless, isn't it? I love it. So we hadn't done a black and gilt before, and we've got a black and gilt GMT coming up. That's one of the colors. We just signed off on prototypes for them yesterday, actually. So we're going to do that. And then below, that's the Origin GMTs.
When did you found the company?
Yeah, only beginning or middle of 2022. So
Okay.
we're 2.5 years now since we started.
Yeah, the reason why I ask is because I've talked to a lot of micro brand founders, and some of the people that were doing it before COVID versus after COVID, and in manufacturing, supply chain, sourcing, it has become 10 or 20 times more complicated than it was before. I mean, in the watch industry has always been complicated, but additional complications. So I'm curious if you've encountered any things like that where, obviously factories are hit or miss, and you have to get this part from there and this part from there, or one person does a great job on the case and the other person does a shitty job on QC, or you can't get it all in one place unless you're looking at some place like Swiss Tech, which obviously you're not making Swiss watches, which is nothing wrong with that, but
no.
Oh, not yet. He's not.
Not yet. No. Yeah, not even something we've talked about. I think we've talked about Swiss movements. I mean, we've got a Swiss quartz movement coming up in a watch, but we haven't thought about assembly in Switzerland. I don't really see the point because
I had a pretty lengthy discussion with the guys from Notice. So I'm sure you probably know like Wes and Cullen.
Yeah. Wes and Cullen,
And they talked about that. Like they talked about going to pull Swiss movements in, and their first batch they did, and now, I mean, it's not to say that Switzerland's making any better product or movement than a Miyota. You can regulate a Miyota so well that is going to be competing with a Le Joux Perret, or it's just not assembled in Switzerland, and so there's no real differences. It's just it's label, it's the clout that comes from having a Swiss watch, which is unnecessary.
The Le Joux Perrets, their most recent release is basically a Miyota 9000 series.
That's it.
Same architecture, but made in Switzerland with
exactly
different
Swiss made Miyota. That's all it is.
I think, to answer your question about the sort of the supply chain issues and problems, because we started after COVID, really, we haven't experienced much of that. But because we're only using the one supplier, and they're more of an assembler, so as you say, they're beholden to the case maker, the bracelet maker, the dial and the hands maker, and so on. We found that if we're asking them to do something outside of their norm, it takes time. We said, right, we want to do high accuracy quartz. This is the movement we want. Can you get them? And they said, yes, but you have to order 300 of them. You pay for them in advance, and it's 6 months delivery time. And we're like, well, okay. So we ordered 300 of them. We've got them, and now we're getting the prototypes and putting them into watches. But everything takes longer. So if we want something with a Seiko or a Miyota, they've obviously got access to that. But the more we challenge ourselves, the more different things we want to do, it's going to challenge our production partner as well. So again, it's just taking that into consideration, factoring in the extra time and extra cost that comes with that.
I'm curious to hear a little bit more about the module production that you talked about, if you will.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that has thrown a kink in the spoke of
your
supplier, and
it definitely has. It definitely has. We went to them and said, look, we want to do this. Can you do this, or can you find somebody to do it? And they said, all right, well, you pay us a development fee, and we'll take this to a third party and we'll get them to develop it for you. So we paid the fee. It was a fairly modest fee, to be honest, less than $10,000 US, which we were quite surprised by. But anyway, we were like, okay.
Okay, sure.
Okay, happy to pay that. Let us know if you need any more in the future. And then nothing really happened for 4 or 5 months. And we went back to them and we said, hey, you know, you haven't forgotten about us, have you? What's happening with this project? And they said, oh, sorry, that first factory couldn't do it. But here's a photo of our glorious leader having a conversation, an in-depth conversation about your exact module with this different factory. They're going to do it. So we're like, okay, right. And then another 5 or 6 months pass. And they tell us that, okay, we can do it, but you're going to have to order 2,000 of these in one hit or the factory won't do it. So we're like, okay, we have to pay for the movements and then hopefully sell them over the next couple of years in a number of different designs. But yeah, as I said, this is almost 2 years now. We started working on this one not long after the first watch, and we've been told that they'll have working prototypes in March. Of the module anyway, so which means that by the time they put the case, the hands, the dial, and get all that ready, we won't probably see them until mid-year. We want to spend a couple of months testing them, obviously, before we're confident that it's something we want to take to market and that isn't going to be just a warranty nightmare for us for the next 24 months.
Yikes. Mitch, any questions?
Well, I mean, I think one of the issues that small companies have, whether they're in the watch space or not, is the whole issue of what do you want to be when you grow up, and whether or not there's a path that gets you from where you are now to where you want to be, that takes into account various uncertainties in the environment. It's not a simple thing.
Yeah, I think you're right. As much as it would be great to work on a 2-year plan, 3-year plan, 5-year plan, you know, who knows what it's going to be like. So I would love to see us being one of the, you know, a solid, well-established, decent-sized player within the micro brand sphere in 5 years' time, or 5 years from our first release, with a range of stuff that's in stock. You know, we said that from the beginning. Most of that one sold out. See, it's been tricky for us so far. We've done a couple of big pre-orders. We've also done a couple of drops where we have pre-purchased a certain number of watches. The Origin GMT was one example. We ordered a batch of these and we had to decide, right, premium range, classic range, 8 different, 4 different colors of each, so 8 in total. How many do we order? And that one, that premium white, sold out quicker than all of the others. So if we'd had our time again, we would have ordered 3 times as many of those and, a third of the others. So it's finding that balance as well between having stuff in stock and having too much stuff in stock.
Since you're a YouTuber, you know that space very well, where you put all this time, energy, effort into a video and it just flops, and then you're like, this video you put no time into, like, skyrockets.
Exactly that. And be careful who you listen to. We released the Origin 41 and everybody was like, oh, it's nice, but I want a smaller one. Are you going to do a smaller one? Can we get a 38? Can we get a smaller one? So we ordered a whole bunch and said, here you are, guys. Here's the watch you've been asking for. And not as many people bought them as had asked for them, or as we thought. Man. So yeah, again, we're still trying to find that balance. We don't want to be a pre-order brand forever where we're constantly, I know it's how the micro brand world works in a lot of ways. And people who buy micro brand watches are incredibly generous in their support, where they'll give you either all or half of or a portion of their money, and they'll wait patiently for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. I've seen and heard even a year and beyond that before they actually get any product for their money. So we don't want to be relying on people's generosity forever. We'd much rather have, watches in stock. Click on the website. Here's 10 different models and there's 5 different colors and they're all in stock ready for shipping. But that carries its own problems of, stock management and cash flow management.
I think that's also another indicator of a micro brand. When people get into that space, they understand okay, I'm either going to have to pony up half or all of it. And the reason why is because they're not a gigantic brand that pumps out 1 million watches a year. They can't afford to just pump out a bunch and hope that they sell them or trickle them out and hold on to them, you know? And people are willing to do that. If you make a great product and your customer service is good, I don't think anybody has any issues giving you money and waiting for a product if they know that it's going to be good.
Yeah, I think you're right, Jen. I think if you can give people the best deal that you possibly can for backing you early, then that's a good thing. These pre-orders, I said, look, we won't sell the watches for less than the pre-order price. So we've maintained that to this point anyway, that we haven't ever undercut the people who backed us in the beginning. We haven't sold the watches for less than the price they paid, which I think is a kind of a good thing, a fair thing.
We want to thank the Watch Lounge for $5 super chat. Cheers, guys. Big fans of Just One More Watch channel. And then the rest of it, I'm going to try to read, although I think there's some typos here. It's actually in forms here in Myrtle Beach. Carrie's, I don't know what it says.
Carrie's on the way home from
work, maybe.
Okay.
What time is it in Myrtle Beach? Is it kind of bourbon o'clock in Myrtle Beach?
It's about 10 o'clock.
It's 10 o'clock. Yeah, there. Yeah.
That's what I hope is happening there.
Me too. Oh, but I hope he's on the way home from work in an Uber, if that's the case.
I know, right?
We thank Kurt for his 5 gifted memberships. Another 5 gifted from Kurt. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. We always appreciate the support. By the way, if you do a super chat tonight, or you gift memberships, or you join the channel, so if you're not a member, please join the channel. Or if you use your member chat, your member milestone chat, we'll get you into the race at the end of the night. And yes, folks, we will have a race at the end of the night tonight. So if you want to get into the race, that's the way you do it. And we'll throw in a couple of people for free just because we love you. We didn't race last week, Jody, so that'll be something new for
the horses. Can I offer a prize for the winner of the race?
Oh, well, yeah, you sure can.
Can I offer an Erebus for the winner of the race?
Oh my gosh, absolutely, you can.
I was digging around this morning. I found this one on the corner over there on the floor.
On the floor.
All right, way to sell it, Jody. Way to sell it.
Get your big screen here.
It shows the big screen. This is an Origin 38 in purple, sapphire bezel, brand new, 2-year warranty, packaged and posted directly from me in Sydney to the winner of the race tonight. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, you had to mention the warranty because you found it on the floor, right?
2-year warranty.
So, if you want a chance to win an Erebus tonight, that one right there, that one right there, send us a super chat or a member chat or join the channel. We would love to have a bunch of new members as well. Also, if you join the channel, you have access to our private WhatsApp group. All of us here on the panel tonight, except Jody, is in the WhatsApp group. And you can listen to us talk about watches and other stupid stuff 24/7. And you can also use a member chat like Jen G did. I'm going for that Erebus. Absolutely. Another $4.99 from the Watch Lounge. Sorry, typo autocorrect. It's actually snowing here. No poos. My phone sucks. Oh my, snowing in Myrtle Beach. That's amazing.
Ooh.
Let's see. Also from Skylar is Skylar Santana, who also, by the way, will be on that Thursday stream with myself and Trap and watching James. So Skylar's in for $2. Kurt is in again for $2. He wants his horse named Future Glue. So we will make sure that you are named Future Glue. And also, Madman, very cool gift, Jody. I agree. That's amazing. You know, I don't normally enter the race on my night to host, but I may have to enter the race just for that on my night to host.
I'm I'm doing it right now. I'm trying to get my
Yeah,
super chat. You sold me.
So, where does the journey go from here, Jody? I mean, are you content being a micro brand for a number of more years, or do you want to grow into an independent, something that's in jewelry stores? So, where do you want to go? What's the future look like for Erebus?
I think the next couple of years is going to be expanding our model lineup away from, I mean, at the moment it's two nameplates, isn't it? It's Origin and Ascent.
Right.
And we're not helping ourselves by releasing more different sizes of the Ascent in February next month. So we're still going to be Origin and Ascent, but next couple of years expanding the range. We're probably going to look at premises of our own because we're piggybacking. Stephen's got a photocopier sales and service business, and we're tucked in the back corner on a shelf of his business at the moment. So we'll probably look at getting our own premises. And then staff. We've got one lady who does part-time. She bags and boxes the watches for us. She does customer service emails, but we're probably going to need somebody to do that full-time. Mm-hmm. And then I guess in a couple of years' time, there'll be a question for me as to whether I can still maintain both the YouTube channel and the watch business, and where I end up. You know, maybe that's where I end up. I reduce the number of videos that I make each week or something, and I just do the watch brand full time. But yeah, that's future decisions. That's not for this year or next year or even the year after.
Von Krull, $5. Thanks for the chance, Jody. Shot in the Dark, his member chat. Been watching Jody for years. Great show crew. I've been watching him for years too. He's awesome. PG $4.99 for the super chat. He's also into the race for the Erebus, and kudos to Jody for great positive watch content over the years. That's from our friend AI. And the captain's in. Congrats on your 2025 Grail, Jody. Thanks for coming to the show. I was going to ask you about that. So you say, let's first of all get the super chat from the Ghost of Yiddish Gambino. Thank you to Jody for helping to start my watch journey addiction 6+ years ago. He's partly responsible for my inevitable bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
So Gambino is the Cartier aficionado here. He had 8 Santos Dumonts at one point. He has an illness. He has a very bad illness.
It's nothing to do with me, Gambino. Nothing.
Yeah, no.
Entirely of your own doing there, my friend.
Yep.
Yes, he was joking. He was getting the infinity gauntlets of Santos. So had one in every color ready for his glove to kill half the population. Sean Holloway, $1.99. Thank you so much, Sean. JD Smoking Pipes.
The first step is to admit that you have a problem.
That's right. And the second step is to find a way to fund it to keep it going.
Yeah.
And there's our man Lonely Wrist, Blake in for $5 and AB in for $5 as well. And AB, if you want to join the channel, that's where you get into the WhatsApp, and we will send you a link to join the group once you join the channel. And we've got another fellow Aussie, Mr. GMT, up there in Darwin with $5 super sticker. So if you're ever up there in that part of Australia, you have to stop by Mr. GMT's restaurant, the Tip Top Snack Bar, and go see him.
I've been to Darwin. I didn't get much further than the airport, to be honest. I walked out. I think this was a few years ago. I walked out, I had a cigarette, and then I went back into the airport.
Yeah, you know, the people in Texas say, "Oh well, that Dallas is like 4 hours from here, or Houston's like 4 hours from here." That's nothing in Australia. We think things are big here. Australia's massive.
Yeah, and you get to the stage. I mean, coming from the UK, where you can go from one coast of Scotland to the other in, an hour and a half, really, if you want to. Hour and a half barely gets you out of Sydney here. It doesn't get you beyond the borders, never mind anywhere else. So
yeah. Well, an hour and a half doesn't get you to San Antonio anymore from Austin, and that's only 70 miles. So So yeah, and that's because of traffic. $2 from Kurt. We need a 2022 Tip Stop snack bar ad break. We will get one for you in just a minute. I'll go find it. It takes me a while to find all of these things. But so we talked about your future. We talked about the YouTube channel. Where do you see the YouTube channel going from here on out? And then we're going to talk about your 2025 Grail.
Yeah, I mean, I said earlier on that I felt like I got in at the right time. I was one of the, not the first, because one of your chatters did point out there were definitely 8-10 channels. Bruce Williams, TGV, Frederico Talks Watches. Some of these guys were all still making content. Now there are 500 watch channels on YouTube.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's incredible. So I feel like I'm one of the old lions now on the plane. And every year, you know, there's more and more nibbling on my territory, taking my patch. But it's inevitable. It's inevitable. So I'd love to, you know, keep things going as they have been for the last number of years. YouTube's been fantastic. It's not something that I ever thought I would do. I fell into it really, you know, serendipitously. It's been great to me. It's really helped. You know, it's helped keep me and my family afloat, really. It's my job, it's my business. So it's been fantastic. If I can keep the channel going for another number of years, I'd love to do a bit more outside of the studio for my own sanity and for a change in content. I really enjoy getting out and doing watch buying challenges and that type of thing in the last couple of years. It's a bit tricky though, because we're so far away from everything here in Australia. You know, if I want to go to see anything, if I want to go to a watch show, there's a couple here, but they're really small. So it's one of the downsides of living on the bottom of the planet. But well, I'd love to keep things going and keep the channel growing as it has done.
I got really jealous. I got super jealous of you because you did that video shopping at Costco, right?
Yeah. Costco was great.
And they had freaking Omegas at Costco. I go to my Costco and they got nothing. Absolutely nothing.
No Invictas and
they don't
Versace?
even have Invicta at my Costco.
Nothing.
It sucks.
Oh,
I was so disappointed.
Costco were great. I did one the year before where I had like $500 or something to spend at a local jeweler's, and nobody wanted to talk to me. The jewelers were like, nah, not interested. But Costco were fantastic. They were like, oh yeah, people love to come and film their experiences at Costco. Come on down. We'll arrange the manager will be expecting you. And they were really good. And then I ended up being featured in the Costco members magazine a couple of months later, which was like, if that's not one of my lifetime achievements, I don't know what.
That's the grail right there. Grail
That's it, you know, I can die happy now. Look, mum, I'm in the Costco magazine. My mum's here at the moment, and I actually showed her. I was like, look, I'm in the Costco magazine. So
and now you're on the premium live stream on Tuesday night. What more can you want?
Watch Hangout on a Tuesday night. What else could I ask for? So
just retire now.
That's it.
Says
yeah,
Mr.
GMT. Jody's mom was like, what are you doing with your life? And then Jody walks in with the Costco magazine, and she's like, okay, you're good. You're good.
That's fine. That's fine. I was wrong. You were right. Carry on.
The cape of support all comes now from the Costco magazine.
Yep.
Yeah. So since Mr. GMT has joined us and we had a request for it earlier, here is the GMT commercial break for you.
Come and get it! 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 You won't regret it in 2022 at Tip Top Snack Bar!
It's Mr. GMT doing OPA Live. This is the seal of approval, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, GMT, what's up, man?
How's it going, boys and ladies? What's happening?
Good.
Jody, it's nice to see you on the panel. I was excited that you're coming onto the panel. And I'm doing very well, my friend. I'm all the way up here in Darwin. You're in Sydney.
Yeah, good to hear an Aussie accent.
Yeah. Can I tell you something? I can definitely understand you just having a cigarette and getting back into the airport because it's hot as hell here. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
definitely
it's too hot.
feel your pain. It's too hot, my man. It's definitely too hot. So I feel your pain. But no, the reason why I thought I'd quickly come and say a quick hello, I am working at the moment, so I've got to jump. But I'm doing a drive-through at the moment, just coming in and going out. So what I'm trying to say is, I wanted to welcome you to our little community that we have. You know, you're more than welcome to come anytime you want. You know, you're a great guest. I'm glad to have you here. But I just want to ask a question, not to Jody out of it. You know how I just did that super sticker? Hello?
What?
You there? Yeah, that super sticker I just put on. Right. So does that put me in the race? Because I really want to win this thing, man.
You're in the race, I
sure,
think.
I think so. Yeah. If you're super sticker, you can get in. Yeah, absolutely.
If I've got to super chat some more, because I really want to go. I want to win this thing.
Seal of approval is here.
Yes, we've got the seal of approval from the man who's running the race this evening. Yes, you are in.
Fantastic. That's all I wanted, and I wanted to welcome Jody. So
What do
you guys take care. Look after yourselves and stay sexy. We'll talk again soon.
See you,
Have
buddy.
fun.
Later.
Yeah.
Have fun with the kebabs, man. I appreciate you coming in. Hello, Captain. Our captain joins us all the way from New York, New Jersey area. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing very well, Robert. How is everybody doing? And big hello to Jody. I love your. How are you? I love your work. And actually, right before the show, I was watching your New York's Finest Brew Metric review.
Yes.
Incredible. And I'm in the New York area. I was at the Watch Time New York event, but I didn't go to, the other event, unfortunately, with the other brands. But I did want to say that I want to get this out of the way. I have the Dan Henry Maverick 1972. And before I bought it, your review was pivotal in me kind of making that decision to purchase it. So thank you very much for all of your content. I love your content. Watching your show got me more into the micro brands. And then I kind of went from there and, here we are. So
full-blown Deegan now, huh?
Yeah, we're in deep, man. The needle's deep. And all success, by the way, in your future endeavors and with your new company, and also very generous of you to have that watch as a prize for the.
My pleasure.
Show.
My pleasure. Thank you for the invite. I'll come back on at some point again if you'll have me, for sure.
Oh well, yeah, we'll have you anytime you want. Doc, except next week. We do have a guest next week, but after that, anytime. Hey, you can come on next week with Mark. I know y'all are friends, so come on.
He's good.
One more person would be great. Doc Mick of Florida, member for 2 months. Hi, Jody, and best wishes to the group. Thank you, Doc Mick, for your member chat and your membership. We have a $5 super chat from Thomas Broadbent. Jody, which is your favorite watch you have reviewed so far, if you can remember them all? If you can't remember, your favorite micro brand?
I asked that, and I got a silent treatment.
You got nothing. You got something else. You got a different answer. Look, favorite watch, I would have to reference the Oris Diver 65 because I have bought and then sold, then bought, then sold, then bought. I've had like 6 of them. So it's been a really important watch for me. I've tried just about the entire range. I see they've just released a 65th anniversary.
Yep.
I've been buying them since the 55th anniversary. So yeah, the same. They just redone it again.
Captain wants that 65th anniversary one that just released.
Here's your answer, Cap.
I'm laughing because we've been arguing about this.
And
like
Blake and I were going. Yeah, Blake and I were
topic of discussion during the last 3 years.
Yes.
It's been a hot topic.
So Jody, thank you very much for pushing me over the edge for yet another purchase.
Yeah.
So not only the Dan Henry Maverick, but this will be. I love this watch as well. I mean, the double dome sapphire, the design of it, and I had one before, and I gifted it to a family member, and I miss it.
Yeah, that's one. That's like the only one I haven't had. I had the blue black dial. I've had 2 Dovials, but I didn't ever have the black with Fotina. And they've done a no date. They've got no date as well on that, which is even better.
It's even better, and they increased the size to 40 millimeters on this one, which is better for my my 7.5-inch wrist.
And I think did they increase the water resistance as well to something useful?
No, unfortunately, that's the one. In that debate, I lost on the specs, Jody.
It's still 100 meters. That's,
yeah,
still 100. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rufus for the $2 super chat. Great seeing you here, Jody, and fellow watch nerds. Thank you, Rufus. We appreciate that. So tell me, it's January. Got a whole year ahead of us, and yet you buy your Grail watch in January for the year.
There we are.
Tell us about it. I'll put you big screen. So
same last year. I ended up buying my kind
Tudor
of
Ranger.
Tudor Ranger. There we go.
Beautiful.
Lovely. Well, I can't, as much as this is my fault, it's also Stephen's fault, because we did a deal last year. He put his name down on the list for a Rolex Explorer, and he said when he got the Explorer, when he got the call, he'd sell the Ranger. And I said, oh, I love the Ranger. I'll buy your Ranger. And the used prices on these there's a considerable saving off the price of a new Ranger. I wouldn't have bought a new one, but I used ones just on the upper edges of that $2,000 comfort limit, where I don't really look much beyond it. So I got the phone call when he was in the Rolex AD. He didn't even say hello. I picked up the phone and it was like, have you got the money for the Tudor? I'm like, I can get it. It's like, right, phone you later. That was it. Bye. So I had no choice in some ways. But last year was the same. I wanted to buy a Grand Seiko SBGN 011, the champagne dial GMT quartz, the 9F quartz. And I think I got it in the first week in January as well. So maybe that's a bit like my personality. If I want it, I'm like, I gotta have it. Do it.
Those champagne dials are so beautiful. I had the SBG P001 for a little bit with the champagne dial. It wasn't the GMT, but apparently Grand Seiko says that's one of the harder dials to make.
Was it?
You know, considering how simple it is, but it's a multi-layer process that they have to get that shit. Because if you look at it, it's like silver in one light, then it's champagne, and then it like floats in between, and God, it's such a beautiful watch. So sorry, I had to say that.
No, it's really nice. I've worn it a little bit, not a huge amount, but I do really enjoy it. I think Stephen and I, when we were in New York, we both took Grand Seikos with us as part of a kind of travel role, and we had a few beverages one night, and we were like, yeah, this is the pinnacle of watchmaking. It's, this is the peak of its form anyway. It's that the Japanese are still doing really good quartz. They're the only ones doing really good quartz these days. And as much as we all love our mechanical watches, they're a little bit antithetical to the whole concept of timekeeping, aren't they? When they've been superseded.
I'm curious too. So as a micro brand, I've talked to hundreds of micro brand owners, so I see these weird similarities, right? And looking through your collection, you have a sports watch brand, right? And that's usually where all the micro brands start. Hey, as a sports diver, boom, whatever. Do you feel like you have enough, you've cut your teeth enough to do a dress watch? Because a lot of these guys are like, I'm not doing one. I'm not going to be that guy that does a dress watch.
Yes, definitely. We've got a micro rotor dressy style watch just about to sign off on the prototypes for it.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's big.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah.
And awesome.
We don't expect it to, be a huge, seller for us, but that doesn't matter. That's what we want to do.
It doesn't have to be. It just has to be a notch in the belt at this point.
Yeah, definitely. And, just something that we don't want to get a reputation for just doing, dive watches or just doing sports watches or something. We want to have a fair breadth of watches, and it's stuff that we want to wear. It's stuff that we enjoy buying and wearing ourselves. So we want to have it with our logo on the dial instead of somebody else's.
Nice.
And we want to thank $2 from Logan Hall's Grill Streams. Great show. Thank you, Logan, for joining us this evening. We appreciate it. You, of course, are into the race as well. And, of course, I put myself into the race because I'm just that kind of guy. Yes, Mr. Ali.
Just hello, Jody. Sorry, I'm in the background trying to help run things. The normal time for the show to end is about 10 minutes. In respect to Jody's time, he'll have 90 minutes with us at that point. We're going to have 5 minutes till the end of the race. We're doing a 5-minute warning. And then because the prize is so graciously donated from Jody's floor with a 2-year warranty, I'm going to run through live. Like we normally just scroll through the list. I want to show the list, and then we have to select our free entries. So it's going to take probably an extra minute or two to run the race tonight. So I'm giving people a 5-minute warning just a little bit early, folks.
Very good. We will make sure everything's on the up and up. And then race winner, we are going to have to figure out how to get your mailing information to Jody. So once we know who the winner is, we will work that out as well.
You already
so
have my mailing information. It's easy.
It's like a Black Friday stream where people are punching each other and trying to get that TV.
Watch out, look out! But that's what's up for grabs this evening. Beautiful, beautiful watch, fantastic quality, great movement, the whole thing. It's a great watch.
I love it. Oh, and it's the purple one as well.
It's the purple one.
Yes, very interesting. Yeah, purple's the color, huh? Tag Heuer came out with their glass box today with the purple-ish purple. I think it's a sunburst dial, or purplish black.
I'm assuming Jody too. I don't want to skip too much of the time of the panel because there's a lot of other people that want to talk. But you started off with the Origin, right, and then worked your way to the Origin GMT and then the Ascent. And is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, we did Origin, Ascent, Origin 38, Origin GMT, and then we've got Ascent size variations. In the pipeline for 2025, we've got, well, I think the name's out there, but we're calling it the Erebus Titan, which people have pointed out was the name of that submarine that imploded a couple of years ago.
Well, that wasn't a submarine, no one knows what that was. But
if your watch can go that deep, that means
yeah.
Just so you know. Sorry,
that's an unfortunate name, and I'm like, well, ours will also guaranteed to implode at 3,348 meters of depth, guaranteed.
Fantastic.
If you get that far, we're doing
as will I.
A deep diver. We've got a micro rotor dress style watch. This field watch with the complication if it happens, and we've got a GMT version of the Ascent also lined up, and I think we're going to start designing a chronograph. So maybe that'll be beginning of next year by the time we get to it.
Speaking of chronographs, how did the ST19 situation affect what you're thinking of doing with the chronograph, if it did at all?
Not at all, because good question, but not at all. The failure rate on those is high.
Really?
Yeah. I've been warned off them by several other brand owners who've told me that there's more than a 10% failure rate on them, which is pretty big. I know some people, their entire brands are based around them, and I've got several in my collection, and I've reviewed a load of them. But I always say, bit of a lottery. They're a movement from the 1940s, now mass manufactured in China very cheaply. So
the first quartz watch, 1940.
It says everything you need to know about them. Amazing, great to look at and fun, and everybody should have one. But we had no plans to make watches with them. I think we're going to try and do a mecha quartz and mechanical, but the same design, but at two different price points. I know some other brands like Stratton, they've always done that with some of their watches. They've offered a Valjoux and a Seiko, same watch, slightly different case shape, but two very different price points. Okay. I think we'll try and do that.
I want to thank Bright Blue Comet, $2 super chat. Great show. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. And our friend Mikey is here, Uncle Mikey. Cheers, everyone, for his $2 super chat. We appreciate that as well. Thanks, everybody, for the super chats this evening. I don't think it's my stellar personality, however, that's led to all those super chats. I think it's Jody's stellar watch that has led to all of those super chats.
Jody, do you also ever see yourself kind of swaying away from the traditional case shapes, like having fun with shapes and things like that, or even maybe materials?
Yeah, I'd love to do titanium at some point. You know, that's not particularly radical these days, but I'd love to do something with titanium. Yeah, I'm sure once Stephen and I have got all this the keystone pieces in the collection, then we'll start getting radical with tonal cases and things like that. Perhaps who knows? We'll see. It's not particularly radical. There's still plenty of those out, but at some point.
And we want to thank Thomas Burnett for being here tonight. It's 3 a.m. where Thomas is, and you're crazy for being up this late, but we thank you for being up with us. Old timey $5 super chat. Let's do this. Absolutely. And I think we're about 30 seconds away. So any last minute, get them in, and then we're going to start with the race procedure. So you got about 30 seconds. And,
is there all?
Go ahead, Blake.
I was also going to ask too, is there obviously, like, and Jen brought up a valid point, like, especially when I talked to a lot of these micro brand guys, like some of the failure rates and some of the most popular movements is scary. So do you particularly have a movement that you just love, Jody? Or
yeah, I mean, people give the Seiko NH movements a hard time, but they're really solid. The Miyota 9000 also really solid. I think they fixed the problems with the Solita 200. We haven't used those yet, but
they did. So they went to the SW. It was SW200-1 was the one that had all the issues, and now it's the -2, which is added the extra jewel, the 25th jewel. So
I think
some of that.
Taking advice from our suppliers as to what they see coming back to them most often is probably good advice.
And the thing that I like about the 4Rs and the NHs is that they're so easy to regulate.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if you're like me and you like to tinker around with stuff and you have a time grapher, you can get them to +2, -2 pretty easy.
Yeah.
They're amazing. They're amazing little movements.
It's upsetting that Seiko doesn't bother to regulate their own movement.
Yep, that would be nice.
Yeah. Well,
We have
that's why they
Ali
sell it.
in. We have Ali in to go over the race parameters. Hello, sir.
Hello. So we have, courtesy of Jody and his company, Erebus Watches, tonight's race. The winner will be getting an Origin 38, the Sunburst Purple. Thank you very, very much, Jody. Depending on who the winner is, the way we'll coordinate the authentication of the winner, I think Robert will matter, because some people we know intimately, some people we don't know, so we'll have to figure that out. And then Jody, if you incur any odd costs or anything on shipping, please let me know through Robert.
I'll do that.
So again, this is Erebus Watches. It is a beautiful timepiece, complete with bezel loom as well. So as Kurt pointed out. So again, thank you, Jody. And then we're going to spend just an extra second on the race tonight that we normally wouldn't do, just to make sure I've got the housekeeping order. So we have 32 entries. I'm going to go through the list of names. If people think that they super chatted, member chatted, or something else and I missed it, I just want people to have an opportunity to chime in. So Burbank Heart opened the night. Kurt, Bill D, Tariq, Duco, the Watch One, Chris, Genji, Skylar Santana, Kurt's Future Glue. Kurt gets some bonus entries tonight at my discretion. Madman, Von Cruel, Shadi Juhadi, PG. I don't know if it's AI or Al, so I'm sorry. I can't.
I think it's AI, but either way is fine.
We got Captain, the official council channel. We've got JD's Moldy Cheesecake, which refuses to die from 2024. Sean Holloway, JD Spooky Bites, The Loneliest AP GMT, Travision 3D, Kurt's Raging Bile Doc Macon, Florida, Thomas Burnett, Rufus, Robert Wood, Logan Hall, Luke Hanna, Uncle Winky, Old Timey. And I saw Kelvin in the chat, who's a fellow Aussie, so I threw Kelvin in there myself.
Yes, I did. I saw him as well.
And if you want to throw Robert as the show host or Jody as the guest, if there was somebody that you saw in the chat that you want to throw into the race for us, we can do that now.
Well, let's throw Jody in as the guest, and then he could keep his watch.
I can't. I can't win my own.
No, he can't win his own watch. That's true. No. Then, let's see. I'm trying to think who I would throw in that hasn't super chatted already.
Yeah, it kind of made it hard. We had very generous guests tonight. Very
Yeah,
excited guests tonight.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. Jody, this is the best show that we have had in quite a while. Let's throw Thomas Burnett in there because he's watching
Thomas
way
Burnett's
past
in there.
what should be his bound. Oh, he's already in there?
Here he is.
Well, see?
Is Von Cruel there?
On Cruel is in there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think everybody's in there. Let's put Wristful Ignorance is in there, has been watching tonight. Let's put him in there.
All right, so
Although
we got 33.
it may be too small for him, but I'm sure he'll be fine. And we
All right,
need to throw
Vimal with the
Vimal
late
in there.
entry. I'll throw him in there.
Yeah. All right. No more
34.
entries, though, folks.
We're
No
close.
more.
We are
No
close.
more.
And going to go to the 44 seconds. We are doing the traditional horses tonight. We have Robert's
Oh,
lovely
yeah.
voice to guide us. We'll give it a shuffle, and we're off.
And they're off, and everybody's kind of equal. And now they split into two big packs. Of course, I'm in the second pack way in the back, so nobody cares about me. We've got Future Glue is up there, along with Doc Mick in Florida. AI is up there for now, and Thomas Burnett is out to an early lead. So I'm sorry, Thomas, that means you're going to lose. We've got Madman is coming up fast on Thomas Burnett, but Thomas Burnett takes off again, but now he's being passed up by Sean Holloway, currently in the lead. We've got, what is that? Smoking Pipes over there. We've got Wristful Ignorance is coming in. We've got Bright Blue Comet is making a push. And Kelvin, here comes Kelvin making a push. And there it is, folks. He doesn't have to ship it very
Yay.
far. He got the guy in Australia. Look at that. Who would have believed
Yes.
that? Kelvin, congratulations. We will figure out a way to get your information to Jody as soon as I get it. I will email it to him, and your fantastic Erebus will be on the way. Congratulations, Kelvin. That's awesome, man.
I hope Kelvin is also. I think he's still in recovery. So if he's still out there, I still think this is still wild to me. So Kelvin is a line dance DJ and instructor in Australia.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he runs line dancer radio. So I think, Robert, I don't know that he's in the WhatsApp group, but I think you can actually reach him somewhere from the website.
I know Kelvin. I know
Do you
Kelvin.
really?
I think everybody in Australia who's into watches knows Kelvin.
Does he own one of your watches?
He does already. He doesn't own this one, but he does. I've met
Well,
him a
see,
few times.
you've got the shipping as information then.
I
You've
do.
got
I
it.
will if it's okay, if this is still above board, I will email. I'll message Kelvin now and tell him he's won. Is he online today? Is he part of the?
He
chat?
was earlier in the show.
He was earlier. I don't know if he's still in the chat or not.
Typical. All right. Yeah, I've met Kelvin many times.
Well,
there you go.
we certainly will
That's fine.
defer to you. You are welcome
is
to reach
fine.
out to Kelvin. We have no exclusive rights to talking to Kelvin.
Okay. I'll
No,
message him now.
absolutely. Yeah, let him know. I think that's awesome, man. And it's
That's
funny
pretty
that
funny, actually.
somebody you knew. Did you know that was that Kelvin when we were running the race or not? No.
No, when you said Kelvin, he's a line dancing DJ. The penny dropped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's only one guy like that in Australia. So.
Yeah. It all makes sense. All right. I've just sent him. I've just messaged them, so I'll get in touch with him.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. We really want to thank Jody for coming in. Amazing show, man. We really do need to have you back sometime.
Pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you
Was
for
just
having me.
fantastic. I want to thank the rest of our panel, of course, the captain for coming in, Mr. GMT, Blake, Mitch, Jen, and Ali, everybody for helping us out tonight. Jody, thank you again. Stick with us. We'll talk to you in the back room for a second. And to take us out, another one from our friend, Mr. GMT.
Can't beat my meat. Awesome homemade Greek style food. Come and get it. Our awesome gyros. Come and get it. Our big breakfast. Come and get it. Our Wednesday special charcoal pork shifty and souvlaki. Come and get it. Our Thursday special cabbage roll day. come and get it. And our biggest seller, Souffle Day, Tuesday, Friday, come and get it. And don't forget, in 2024, come and get it and you won't regret it.